I mean, that's the face. That's the face of someone who has been watching the first half of this Browns-Dolphins game. And
17-7, just like we all thought it would be after both teams go right down the field and score touchdowns in the opening drive. What a disaster.
I really did think it was going to be this offensive shootout. The Browns looked really good offensively coming out the gate. It was a really heavy pass drive, which, I thought, okay, you do that, you open up the run game a little bit. The run game has nothing today. Nothing today. It's a mix of just, the Dolphins defense really stopping Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, but it's also that offensive line and the tight ends falling apart on their production.
Offensive line has been a disaster. Not just the run game. Jacoby Brissett has been pressured. I think he's been sacked, 3 times in the first half? A total disaster. That said, it's 17-7. It really could be a shootout because remember, the Dolphins gave the ball away on that 4th and short, at the 20. The Browns have turned it over essentially twice inside of Miami territory, once on the Chubb fumble and the other not converting on the 4th and short. There should be more points on the board, Cam. This is the issue, and I said this on Browns Countdown this morning. To keep up with Miami, to win in a shootout, I just didn't have confidence in the Browns to do that because that means they'd have to make fewer mistakes than the other team. They have not done that so far.
No, and that turnover battle is not being won. And the offense obviously is the cause of the Dolphins being in the lead of that turnover battle. But the defense, after the last week, 2 weeks ago, after the game against the Bengals, you would think that that flip had been switched, right? We saw that energy change in the defense. Even against the Ravens, they looked really good. Then they come out guns a-blazing against the Bengals, and you think, okay, this is the time to keep that momentum building. This is the time for them to show up. And defensively, it's been a struggle as well, not just in the defensive line. We know the defensive tackle has been an area of concern for this Browns team, and that's really the big part of the run game and why the Dolphins have been able to really gash them. But it's also just sporadically throughout those issues of tackling guys again, those open field tackles. They're rearing back, and then they seem to have figured that against the Bengals.
It's like defensively, all Joe Woods mentioned 2 names all week to his players, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. And it's one of those, we'll let somebody else beat us. Okay, well, they're doing pretty well against Hill and Waddle, and everybody else is crushing them. This is the worst run defense performance I think that we have seen from this team in quite a while, probably since Atlanta, right? I mean, they're just getting gashed.
And it is. It may be just poor planning. I don't want to put that on them. I'm sure they had to have assumed, and there were comments during the week about, you can't let their run game go because they could break out at any moment. But there was other comments saying, it was all focused on Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. That was the really big focus.
For good reason. And for good reason. I can't tell if you're selecting any comments here, so I'm just going to read a few. Do the Browns have a wide receiver that can toast this defense once again? So Donovan Peoples-Jones, pretty good early. Once again on the road, Amari Cooper, doesn't factor into the offense, and I don't understand it. I lost my train of thought now.
Amari Cooper.
What I want to say.
There you go.
Kevin Stefanski in the opening script versus Kevin Stefanski the rest of the game.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, you might be too young for Seinfeld. It's like Two-Face in Seinfeld, right? How you look good under one light and then you get into another light and you look terrible. Kevin Stefanski, when he's got a week to prep for a drive, very good. The rest of the game, for the most part, different story.
Yeah, it's very strange. Obviously, when you come out with a script, you've got all week to kind of practice that exact scenario, and what you get look-wise from the defense is going to alter how you play call and your decision-making there. So that's kind of why it changes. But you would think that a couple drives in, when you're starting to see what they're doing, you'd switch it up, figure it out, and it just kind of stalled. So this second half, I needed, they said that they were playing music in the locker room before the Bengals. I'm going to need a really fire playlist playing behind Kevin Stefanski.
Do they not play music? Yeah, do they not play music?
Myles Garrett, they don't normally play music in the locker room.
Before the game, I would have said you needed 30 points. You needed 30 points to win the game. If that's the case, giving up 17 in the first half to Miami, it's not great. it's okay. The defense has not been good. The defense was saved by that one stop, right, on 4th and short. Otherwise, it should be 20, if not 24-7. Offensively, they got to get it together in the second half. And, unfortunately, they have become one-dimensional in this game. It's not because they're down so much, but it's because they just can't run the ball. It's just not there. And when this team goes one-dimensional and when this team turns the ball over, both that they have done already, they're just a disaster. It's a complete disaster.
It is. And to the offensive line conversation that we were having.
Frank's comment here. This is pretty good. 2 weeks to prepare for Miami looked like they needed a year.
There.
I mean,
they have a long time, but
he's
they weren't
right. He's right.
They're
this doesn't look like a team that's well rested and well prepared. It doesn't.
No. I will say on the offensive line front, there is that drop off. Everyone was excited to get Wyatt Teller back in this game. He was active heading into this game. He was out there for a few plays. Then on the sideline, he's been dealing with that calf strain, and Yelda Fro holds in his place. I know that Yelda has done a very good job in times of filling in. I think maybe that's getting to them a little bit. You go into that game expecting to have Wyatt back. Was he ready to be back in full? It doesn't feel like maybe he was. We'll see if he's able to come back in the game, but it doesn't look promising. And when you throw that around, the offensive line has done a really good job of staying consistent and united through those changes, with Jack Conklin being out, Ethan Posick being at center after the Nick Harris situation, JC Tretter gone. They've done a really good job. But when you get that going and so last minute, I feel like that might have a really big thing to do with how this is playing out right now with that offensive line and how they're being able to protect Jacoby and fuel the run.
Your point is well taken, and I agree with you. And I had posted how I can't believe the Browns can't pick up a yard with the best offensive line in football, and Chubb and Hunt and the quarterback sneak king in Jacoby Brissett. And somebody responded with, well, when they're healthy, they're the best. And I agree with that. Yes. Callahan has done a fantastic job with his offensive line. They have remained remarkably consistent, even with the injuries. But Camryn, Brissett's last sack, both Jedrick Wills and Conklin got blown up. Those are not backups. Those are your starting tackles. They got absolutely blown up. It is inexcusable how poorly this offensive line has played today.
Oh, and that's the thing with Jed Wills. He has had such a roller coaster of a season. There are games where he comes out and he plays like no other, and he is the guy that they picked. That's the guy that they saw and they wanted to develop, and he's got that talent. And there are other games like today where he falls apart.
Can't be the case. That can't be the case. If he was a rookie, even a second-year player, I say, okay, ebbs and flows, whatever. This dude's in his third year now. It was a top 10 pick. It's time. You can't have games like this. You can't have off games. It's just, you can have off plays. You can't have off games.
I want to take a minute to just praise an area of this team that has struggled.
Give us some hope.
It has struggled in the past few weeks, and it hasn't been just one moment. But today, it was a flash of, okay, maybe they're onto something here. Jerome Ford returning the ball. A 48-yard kick return to start this game off. That's a nice start. That's a nice, promising look at what the special teams unit can do if they kind of figure out what they're doing at returner. They really struggled there. And Jerome Ford back from IR. Obviously, he's not going to be the starting running back. That's not where he's going to be. He's not going to be in there much because you've got Nick Chubb and you've got Kareem Hunt. But when you have him back in a role on special teams, I mean, this is what they want from somebody. They wanted someone to step up like this. It was one return. He's got a lot to prove, but that is a really nice, promising start for the Browns and their special teams unit, and something we haven't seen all season long.
If they have any shot in the second half, they got to get a stop here. Miami gets the ball to come out to start the second half. They got to get a stop. If they go down 20-7 or 24-7, I just don't know that they have the firepower if the Browns are resorted to a passing only offense, right? As bad as the run game has been, we know the Browns need the run game. They need the balanced attack on offense. And if Miami comes out and scores, this thing may be over already.
Yeah. It's
we get an early start to our Sunday night.
Listen. Adam is positive. All caps.
What Adam say?
Go Browns.
All right. Well, that's good because everybody else is realistic.
Yep. I mean, that's what it is.
Al points to it again, as we mentioned, the first drive, this team opening drive versus this team in-game adjustments, it's just we haven't seen it. Like we rarely see it. Kevin Stefanski's very good in the opening script. We don't see it during the game, and unfortunately, that's what we saw out of Freddie Kitchens for the year. Remember his opening drives? Pretty darn good.
Oh, they were great.
And then the rest of the ball game, oof. And that's what we're seeing today. This is a Freddie type game.
Got to turn up. He was great. He was great against the Bengals. Things were good against the Bengals. After a couple series in there, the offense did struggle at first. So maybe we see this in the second half where they kind of get it together, get the wheels turning, and get the plan that they wanted.
And real quickly, defensively, they got to pressure Tua more. They got to pressure Tua. Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney have to play more of a role in the second half, because if you give him time and you give Hill and Waddle time to get open, they're going to get open, no matter who the defensive backs are, especially against what has been a bad secondary this year in the Browns.
Yeah, and John says it right here. No linebacker blitz. Send them in. Send more guys.
There's been no pressure at all. Yeah, save for one or two plays. No, they pressured him one time. He short hopped a pass out to the flat. That's what you got to do. You got to pressure him. Al says we'll have to watch the film. Al, I don't know. We might not want to watch this film, buddy. All right, let's get out of here. Need a drink.
Or two. Thanks for watching Browns Halftime Live. We will see you.